Hey, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri Appellate Attorney. I'm retired, and this is not legal advice. Everything I say is simply commenting on the law, and this will be what we're commenting on today. I have a grandson turning 15 in a couple of days, and I wanted to try to give him some suggestions about things he might do in his life to ensure that he has a great life and that he grows into the man that he wants to be. And so I thought I would share my 7 rules. And after that, I'm going to ask anybody who has things they think that could be added to this list, drop me a comment. Let me know what you think, because I would like to deliver to him something that will be truly useful to him as he goes through the rest of high school and up into his college years. Because for me, the time between I was 15 and 25 were the times I made the most consequential decisions, but they were also the times that I frankly made the most mistakes and certainly the most painful mistakes. So, with that said, let me talk about my rule number 1, and that is be honest and trustworthy. So, one of the things that I think people sometimes struggle with is the idea that if nobody knows, then nobody's hurt. But that's absolutely not true. You'll often hear people say things like, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And of course, that's not true either. If you are an honest and trustworthy person, you're an honest and trustworthy person, irrespective of where you might physically be located. And so the idea that what happens in Vegas doesn't come home isn't true. There are a lot of people who have been treated for certain social diseases that can express that thought perhaps more adequately than I can. But even things like you borrow somebody's drill and you break a bit, and you should always volunteer to replace it. And if you put a ding in somebody's car, you should always feel like you have the obligation to get that repaired. Those are the kinds of things that help you establish a reputation for trust and integrity, because trust and integrity are the foundation of a good life. My number 2 rule is respect yourself and respect others. So, when you respect yourself, you treat yourself with kindness, you do things that are good for your body, and in addition to that, when you deal with other people, you show that kindness and you show empathy regardless of their background or beliefs. Now, I've always believed that we should treat people well no matter what their socioeconomic status was. But I think one of the things that really matters, particularly as you go from 15 to 25, is valuing other people's opinions and listening actively. A lot of people will listen to someone speak, but 15 minutes later, they won't be able to tell you a thing that person said because they weren't listening actively. I've always found it helpful to put into my own words what someone has said so that I can understand, based on their speech, what it is they were trying to convey. Active listening, you can find a lot of information about it on the internet. It is an excellent skill to have. My 3rd rule: embrace responsibility. If you have work that needs to be done, you get up and get it done. When I was a lawyer, I completed my assignments on time. In fact, I always went by the deadline. In other words, if I had a deadline of the 15th of the month, I made certain that project was completed by the 10th of the month so that I would never miss a deadline. If you take responsibility for your actions and you work like that, you get to it immediately, do the best job you can, and then if you make a mistake, you learn from it. That's what I mean by embracing responsibility. It is a key thing that people need to do to be able to grow in their profession, as well as be able to, fall in love and have a family. You have to know the basics of responsibility. My fourth rule: pursue knowledge and education. One of the things that I enjoyed more than anything in school was the opportunity to read history, because it was like reading a good story that I already knew the end to. And to this day, I sit around and watch YouTube at night, and some of the most fascinating things to me are some of the stories out of the Second World War, some of the displays of courage and valor under situations where I think most people would be, with their head down, hoping that the gunfire would stop. Those kinds of things are tremendously interesting to me. And I read about them when I was in high school. I went to high school in the Philippines, where a lot of World War II was fought, and I got to walk around some of those battlefields. I got to go to the monuments in Quezon City, where some of our war dead were buried. To me, that was a really important thing to do, to learn my history as an American. And so I think any knowledge that you gain over the course of your life will eventually help shape you into the person that you are going to be, that you were born to be. My fifth rule: be resilient, persevere. You know, there are a lot of people who face difficulties. There are a lot of people who, run up against a brick wall and they always seem to find a way around it. You should always focus on trying to find solutions rather than giving up. And that might mean seeking help or trying a different approach until one of them succeeds. And there's nothing wrong with changing your plan. There is something wrong with just accepting defeat. There are a lot of people who were called out but ignored the referee and proceeded on and wound up winning in the end. And that, I think, is very important. The sixth rule: practice gratitude and generosity. Gratitude is among the most noble of emotions, and it is one of those things that is hard to explain to people, but you should be grateful for the friends that you have. You should be generous with those friends. If they need help, you should help them. Let me offer a suggestion, however. One of the worst things that ever happened to me was I lost a friend because I loaned him money. Now, I didn't hound him to get that money back, but he knew he couldn't pay me when he asked me for the loan. And his friendship to me was much more important than the money that I loaned him. And I never really expected to get it back anyway. But eventually, he just cut me out of his life. He never paid back, and I think he felt very bad about that. Whereas for me, it didn't bother me at all. If you loan somebody money, the fact is, you may as well just tell them it's a gift, because most of the time, you're probably not going to get it back. I mean, that's been my experience. Maybe I just have a bad group of friends, but I do think it's important to understand that those are the kinds of situations, those are the kind of relationships, loaning money, doing things like that. Those are the kind of things that put stress on a friendship, and you have to be really careful about that. And then my seventh rule is maintain a healthy balance. I spend part of my time volunteering at a medical office. I spend the other part of my time here doing videos. And, the third sector of my 1/3 of a day goes to spending time with my wife in the evening. And a lot of times we just sit on our couch and read together. But the thing of it is, you have to have balance. You can't be one dimensional. You can't work 15 hours a day and expect to have a good home life. You have to be willing to give your spouse and your friends a little piece of your time and energy as well. So I think those rules are the rules that helped me get where I am. And I'm going to recommend those to my 15-year-old grandson. But as I said at the beginning of this video, I would really love to hear from you about what you think important rules are, or if you don't want to call them rules, guidelines maybe. Guidelines that somebody who's 15 should be adopting now so that they can be successful later on in life. If you have the opportunity, drop them in the comments down below, or you can email those thoughts to me at the address above. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, like, share it. Certainly if you're not a subscriber, subscribe. And then if you have the opportunity today, do something nice for someone. Kindness is never repaid, it's only passed on. And then come on back down here tomorrow, join me at the beach, and we'll talk about something else that may be even more eclectic than this one. I shouldn't have to say this, but you don't seek legal advice from a guy down at the beach. You seek it from a lawyer in a lawyer's office, where there are people running around in suits and secretaries and all kinds of other people. I'm just a YouTuber. I'm a retired attorney at this point, and although I retain my license to practice in the state of Missouri, I am not here dispensing legal advice. I'm just offering general content on the law. And here are some videos that YouTube thinks you may enjoy.